Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kayfabe Central podcast. Welcome back to the headlines of pro wrestling this week. I am joined here again by Rue on wrestling.
Hey man, thanks for having me back on so soon.
Yeah, of course, man, of course. Um, so I did start like a little bit before, but I really didn't get into too much because it was just me, and I was like, oh, okay, there's not much to talk about, but um this is an episode I really wanted to do because we have had quite a bit happen this past week in wrestling. Um, and like
Yeah,
I was just saying, like it's like an hour before SmackDown, so I always tend to do these last minute. But um, yeah, before we get into a little quick self promo, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment, hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews. Go follow Ruin Wrestling on TikTok. He's got some cool content on there. Um, Go follow the Ko-Fi page. I just uploaded my WrestleMania 42 fantasy card on there. It's $5 minimum to get the exclusive wrestling content tier. And if you plan on buying anything from WWE Shop, go ahead and check out my WWE Shop link. It unfortunately doesn't give you a discount, but it helps me out by using the link if you plan on buying anything from there. Um, so yeah, let's get straight into it because we have 3 hours of SmackDown to watch in a bit. So uh so I don't know if you've heard of some of these, but we'll start off with the Young Bucks are planning to purchase Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, aka PWG. Um this is interesting to me. I don't know if you've heard about this or not. Um but yeah, this is interesting to me, and this is something I think that they could actually do because there's times where they just aren't on AEW television a whole lot, and this could be just something else for them to do.
yeah, I actually totally agree. I did hear about this, and it really wouldn't surprise me if they did. The Bucks are a big enough name. They shed more than enough merchandise and money with of AEW. So I think they're definitely in the place to be able to do it. And when you think of PWG, obviously there's a lot of other names that come to mind, the likes of Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, etc. But the Bucks are up there as you know, PWG kind of stalwarts, if you will. So it really wouldn't surprise me if they did. And as you said, they kind of have commitments in AEW that means, or like away from AEW, sorry, that means they're not always on TV. So I feel like it was something that they could, do and kind of have going on in the background of their own lives.
Yeah, and I don't know how much knowledge you have on PWG, but from what I know, I don't think they've been running for a few years.
I've not heard from them in a while. As you said, like I know a lot of the classic matches that happened, the Kevin Steen matches and all that from back in the day. But now you've mentioned it, I've not heard about them in a while, which would make sense if they haven't been running shows.
Yeah. I mean, like half the roster ended up, more than half the roster ended up getting signed. So, um, but there was still so much indie talent that they could have used. So, not sure why they stopped doing shows, but I definitely think if the Young Bucks purchase this promotion, that they'll definitely get back up and running, and a lot of people will start wrestling there again.
Yeah, I think if the Young Bucks were to purchase it, I wonder if it would work kind of in a similar vein to the likes of the current deals going on with WWE with the likes of AAA and TNA, and obviously with WWE owning Evolve now. I wonder if it would work quite similar. Also, AEW will have Ring of Honor, but I wonder if they would have PWG almost as like their own form of Evolve maybe, and then also Ring of Honor almost like their version of NXT.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that actually. That is very possible. We have seen a lot of that with like um promotions and like smaller promotions this is more like local in Canada, so you probably haven't heard about it, but Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling aligned with like and this is not something I have written down, it's just like on the topic. um they aligned with this wrestling school that I used to go to called Battle Arts Academy, and Battle Arts is like serving as like an like you said like an NXT to them. Um,
Yeah.
for those of you that don't know, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling is owned by Scott D'Amore, who also runs TNA. So yeah, there's been a lot of that going on recently. So yeah, it
Yeah.
seems to be the trend.
I was just actually saying that. Is Battle Arts the one that was owned was owned by Santino?
It is, yeah.
It is. Ah, okay, cool. Yeah, I'd held it. As soon as you said it, I was like, why does that ring a bell?
Yeah, they've mentioned it quite a bit on TNA, especially since he's been there.
Oh, okay, that's really cool.
Yeah. Um, something that's not really cool in my opinion though is the snap through Slim Jim tables. Um, so if anybody is hasn't heard yet, WWE is gonna have tables with the Slim Jim logo on it. And honestly, like I'm not a fan of it, but this isn't the worst thing that they can do. And like they'll still probably end up doing the worst things that they can do when it comes to these sponsorships because I'm somebody who isn't a fan of them even just being around the ring, like on the mat and on the turnbuckles and stuff like that. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if we get to a point where it's like a superstar will come out wearing the sponsorships on their gear or something. Like we have a NASCAR inspired gear or something like that. Um, I don't know. What do you think of the Slim Jim table thing?
Yeah, it's I mean, firstly, I'm in a similar boat as you. I'm not a fan of the sponsorships in general. However, like the ones in the ring, I said I'd rather not have them,
Yeah,
but they're there and it's not the most offensive thing in the world. However, what I don't like is this potential of them putting advertisements on quote unquote weapons. Now, obviously, we know we watch wrestling. We're in the know. We know most of these are gimmicked. We know that they are made not to be, they're not portraying them as an actual weapon. Obviously, we in kayfabe are meant to believe that they are.
yeah,
So, say for instance, you were to take Sting's baseball bat, this thing that he uses, or Triple H's sledgehammer, for example, and then you stick a Slim Jim's logo on it, and I think it just takes that whole the kayfabe out of the weapon almost. Like it just takes you out of the moment where you're meant to believe that wow, he's actually just been knocked across the head by a sledgehammer, and you've sat there and there's just a Slim Jim's logo. It's right in front of the screen.
yeah. Instead of a steel chair, it's gonna be a Slim Jim chair.
Exactly. You're sat there trying to be like, it's not, I don't get me wrong. I feel like in certain matches it could work if they were to do another like Jackass inspired match like at WrestleMania 38. If
Yeah,
they'll do some of that, sure, whatever, go for it. But if you've got this blood feud, imagine like Punk and Drew in Hell in a Cell and he's sitting hitting him, as you said, with like a Slim Jim sponsored chair. It just
yeah,
it takes you out of it.
yeah. It's a pretty stupid concept. Um, like in a sense, like from a business sense, I guess I understand it, but there's so many other ways you can go about sponsorships without slapping them onto every single thing.
Yeah. It's very forced on us, particularly with WWE. I mean, we already get it with the likes of you. I mean, luckily we don't have it as bad now with Netflix, but all the commercial breaks, it's just, as you said, I understand it from a business point of view. I do get it. However, as the fan, it is quite irritating to see.
Yeah. It's like and like a bit of a funny story here actually. When they were sponsored by Morgan and Morgan and they had the big ass Morgan and Morgan sign on like the logo on in the middle of the ring. Um a little bit of a personal like joke here, but my ex's name is Morgan. So I was just on my laptop doing my write-ups or whatever, and all I hear is the name Morgan like four times in a row. And I'm like,
Just constant.
what? Like, what is going on? Um, yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, that is a funny story. Liv Morgan must send you into a coma when you hear her on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. Um yeah, anytime my mom hears like Liv Morgan and then commentary refer to her as Morgan, she gives me a look and like I don't know what you want me to do. Um Speaking of Liv Morgan, a bit of a shittier story here. Liv Morgan's stalker got arrested at the WWE Performance Center, and like it's not shitty that he got arrested. I'm glad he got arrested. It's shitty that she was getting stalked, and there's something else to this. Roxanne Perez has also been getting targeted on X, and I don't know if this story you heard of, but there's someone on X with a "Is Roxanne Perez dead yet?" account.
Yeah, I've actually seen it on X. I tried to stay off X, well, I hate calling it that, Twitter,
Yeah,
as much as possible because it's particularly for wrestling, it's the most just vile pit of just hatred on the planet. I hate it, but I do tend to go on there just to kind of check up on the news. And yes, I did actually see the actual account that was showing that, and it's absolutely disgusting and really shocking to see. Um, it's mental, and I just can't get it through my head or try to even begin to understand where these quote unquote fans come from. It's mental.
yeah. These are people that need serious help, and if you
Yeah,
go out of your way to stalk these celebrities or wrestlers or whatever, you need to go to therapy, counseling, whatever it may be, to get yourself situated because celebrities are not, they are still human at the end of the day. They are just like us at the end of the day. They breathe the same air we do every single day. They're just more popular than us. And that doesn't give anybody the right to follow these people around or call them names on Twitter or send them death threats on Twitter. And like more often than not, like if you're going after these people on Twitter, more often than not, they don't care. They're not going to care. So I don't understand why people take time out of their day just to try and make someone else's life miserable when like
yeah,
that person is,
totally.
obviously making a whole much more money than that person that has the account. And it's just a really shitty thing and from really shitty people. And I'm glad Liv Morgan Stalker got arrested. And I hope the person that's running that Roxanne Perez account gets some sort of justice. I hope the account gets taken down if it hasn't already. Um,
Believe it already has. From what I've
okay,
seen, I think it was Sean Ross Sapp said it, and I think he also did mention that legal action has been taken against the account,
okay,
or is
yes,
in the process of being taken against it.
yeah. I'm glad to hear that, and I think both these people, or if like there's more people involved, anybody involved in both of these things should go to jail, and they should stay there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
because
it's great, especially for Roxanne. I mean, it doesn't make it any less worse for any of the women that have to go through this. But like Roxanne's still only 23 as well. Like that's
yeah,
crazy. She just, I mean, you forget how young she is because she feels like she's been around forever and she's so talented.
yeah,
But this is such a young, quote, still a girl pretty much,
yeah,
who's having to deal with this horrible, just a shitty situation and completely unnecessary. And it's not the first time we've seen it as well. It was only a couple of years ago we had the one with Sonia Deville. They attempted to break into a house and with the
yeah,
intent to kidnap her, I believe.
yeah. It's like I don't understand why these people do these things.
No,
Um,
we never will.
yeah, it's just a really shitty thing. Um, Another shitty thing, not as serious. We've had a few releases from WWE this past week, and we'll go from like in fan perspective, least important to the most important here. Um, Freedom Ramsey got released from WWE. He was a guy that was like thrown into the Evolve group or whatever. I don't know because I don't pay a whole lot of attention to Evolve. I don't know if he's ever had a match in Evolve. I don't know if you've like ever heard of Freedom Ramsey or seen anything from him.
Yeah, I was going to say when you mentioned the name, that I was like, I actually don't know of this name. It wasn't until you said Evolve, and I was like, I'm quite similar to you. I catch the odd clip here and there more from like TikTok,
Yeah.
but no, I've not actually heard of them.
Yeah. So I was reading all the releases and I saw his name. Um, Valhalla, aka Sarah Logan, also got released. This one and like I have to say this every single time because I feel like if I don't, there's going to be at least one person that's going to try and stir things up. I will never advocate for someone to lose their job. I think it sucks that these people lost their job, and I hope that they, find something else that they love or reinvent themselves, whatever the case may be. I wish nothing but the best. Um, but this release of Valhalla didn't really surprise me, and
No.
it's because she she came back as Valhalla and she was a manager for the Viking Raiders that barely talked. And then when they went back to the War Raiders, I don't think I can't even remember the last time she was on TV.
Yep, same. As you said, I totally agree, and I also second the fact that I don't want to advocate for anyone losing their jobs. I hate it. It's one of these things. I do understand frustration, but I do hate it when you see it on like likes of X. We're like, oh, how's this person lost their job and so still employed? It's like, I don't want anyone to lose their job here.
Yeah.
So that I totally agree. We'll get that out of the way straight away. But as you said, I do also agree it's not a massive surprise. I actually completely forgot she'd even came back with the War Raiders.
Yep.
Um, I thought she'd just been gone entirely. And as you said, it's a character that wasn't maybe the strongest. And at the end of the day, this is the other thing with all the releases. I'm sure we'll talk about other ones here. I'll preface it by saying, from the business point of view, I can get it, but on a personal level, they do suck. But
Yeah.
and they all suck, especially some of the others I'm sure we'll talk about. But I do agree with the Valhalla one. Yes, it sucks. But I'm not overly surprised.
Yeah. And she did announce that she is hanging up the boots, so she is not wrestling anymore. Which sucks because
Yeah.
she wasn't a terrible wrestler. But like getting fired sucks, man, and it obviously took a toll on her. So I wish her nothing but the best in whatever she plans to do. Um, Another release that we had was Carlito, which in a sense, I guess I'm not entirely surprised about this one either. They didn't really have him doing anything other than being like a comedy gimmick for the Judgment Day. Um, I feel like they could have used him a lot more. And I actually think that other rather than the Judgment Day, he could have strived in NXT.
Yeah, I kind of thought about seeing him in NXT, and I just now you said it, I totally agree. And I also agree, as you said, like Khalil's a funny one. I just said kind of 50-50. Am I surprised? Not entirely, as you said, when you think back to it, you're like, okay, it wasn't used overly brilliantly. But what I will say is watching the Judgment Day segment on Monday Night Raw just gone there, it was a noticeable absence for me.
Yeah.
As soon as it's one of the ones it's almost like it's taken and it sucks. It's taken for him to be, released for maybe me and a lot of other fans, I'm sure, to properly look at it. But it felt weird seeing the Judgment Day there without Carlito in the background being an idiot.
Yeah. No Carlito, no TV, no 2K game in the background. Um,
Nothing.
yeah. So it definitely felt a little bit off, and yeah, the Judgment Day is definitely gonna miss Carlito a little bit there because they definitely they definitely had I'm trying to find the word here. I'm like stumbling, but he brought a lot to the group in terms of comedy.
It
And
gave it something. Yeah, he gave it something different. I would say,
yeah,
like you've got the Liv and Dom part, which has elements of comedy in it, but it's not the same type of comedy that Carlito had. And then you had also Finn and JD, the slightly more serious ones. And also same with Raquel. He gave that kind of instigator of comic relief. And yes, sometimes it didn't hit. I'm sure we won't go into it, but obviously the whole Io Sky segment that didn't really land. But there's been times where he said stuff and he's got a laugh out of me out of nowhere, and it was stupid, but it was stupid funny.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And the main one that everybody is talking about is that R-Truth got released this week. And when I first saw this, I thought this was a joke. I thought he was joking. But after
Yeah,
like other like research, I obviously found out that he wasn't lying. And R-Truth actually is released from the company. This one sucks. Because this guy, I really thought he'd be a WWE lifer. And this is not a guy who
yeah,
like um was in the company, left, came back, left, and then came back. He has been here for like decades.
yeah. It's meant. I was the same as you. I was actually out for dinner with my girlfriend and her family on Sunday, and this popped up on my phone, and I genuinely let out what WTF at the table because I was like, I did not expect that. And I guess we'll say straight away because there'll be that one person who sat there thinking, oh, he's 53 years old and he hardly gets shoes on TV. Okay, sure. As from that tiny, tiny point of business, okay, cool, and he's on a big contract. But I don't think our truth specifically isn't about that. I think he has so much more that he could bring, especially for younger talent. To have someone there acting, as a mentor, does he need to be on TV? No. But having his presence in the locker room, I think, would just help and ease a lot of the younger talent coming up from NXT to the main roster. Just, simple things like this is how you go about getting your hotel, this is how you go about getting your travel booked and everything. So to have someone like that and lose someone like that, I think is a major blow to the roster.
Yeah, 100%. And like a part of me would have understood if like they did this like maybe like last year or like next year around this time. But he just had his biggest feud of his career with John Cena like 2 weeks ago. That just happened. And it really
Yeah, the
sucks that they
timing's
did this
crazy.
right now.
Yeah, that is the timing of it's crazy. I want to know how long this has been in the works. Because if this has been in the works like for a while and they've known about this and pushed this R-Truth character again, that really sucks. I do maybe appreciate the fact that okay, he got to have his final feud with John Cena, but if they've known about this for a while, that's kind of shitty.
Yeah. No, 100%. Um yeah, it sucks that our truth's gone, and we had a few we want truth chants on Raw. They were on NXT as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they continue on SmackDown tonight, and I'm all for it. Because I'd be
Yeah,
chanting "We want truth" as well in the crowd. Um,
yeah,
because it's a
and the
really
same,
shitty thing,
and the same.
and I think they gave him really shitty treatment, and like in my opinion, corporations like this are just evil. And I
Yep,
am never going to buy the whole budget cuts thing because this is a company that we just talked about sponsorships is continuously making money. Um, so it can't be that. And I would have thought they'd maybe even get him on a Legends contract, and
yep.
they didn't even do
That
that. Um, the thing about the "We Want Truth" chants, though, I don't know if these chants continue a month from now because a lot of the times when a big superstar gets released, the fans just eventually forget about it and move on and be like, oh, this person just got signed. We're gonna focus on that. Like in the rare occasion, like the CM Punks, like we had that chant for years. Um, so if they really want to make an impact and potentially bring truth back, these chants would have to continue for months.
yeah, and I think it sucks because I'm with you. Like I would be there chatting it as well. But yeah, I don't know how long it lasts. It'll be interesting to see. I definitely think we'll get some of SmackDown tonight. I think that's for sure. And it's interesting as well the reports that WWE was saying to the talent, not they don't want them wearing Ultra shirts, which again I think is really really shitty because at least if they're going to get rid of them, at least have the respect for him to allow that to be there. And like, because they know how well respected and loved he was backstage,
Yeah.
but it's just now a case of, oh, we want nothing to do with him.
Yeah. Um yeah, I'm interested to see where he goes next. I think if he were to go to AEW, it would be pretty interesting. Like there's some people over there that I like if he brings that same comedy gimmick with him, there's some interesting funny segments he could have with people. Like imagine a R Truth and Orange Cassidy segment. Um or
Yeah,
a
right.
R Truth and MJF segment. uh yeah, there's a few people over there, or if maybe he goes to TNA as Ron Killings and does something completely different, like, oh, I'm not WWE anymore, I'm gonna completely switch it up.
Yeah, the TNA one's interesting, and apparently they do have a bit of interest in Truth. And as you said, I don't know what route they would go down with it, but for the AEW side, I did see someone mention which would be quite funny. Now, this is an absolute uh, lawsuit minefield, and it would never happen, but it would be quite funny to have like R-Truth appear backstage at AEW, and he runs into like Cope and Christian Cage or Dustin Rhodes, and he's like, "Oh, Goldust, Edge, Christian, I've not seen you guys in years." And obviously they can't do that, but it'd be so funny if they did.
It would be, and like I had a similar thoughts of that. Like if he goes up to like John Moxley and just continuously calls him Dean Ambrose.
Exactly. I would love
uh
it.
yeah. But yeah, like hopefully we see Truth soon back in the ring, because he can still go better than a
Oh,
lot of
absolutely.
people currently.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the guy, well, I think I mentioned it was 53 years old, and
Yeah.
his fitness level, I could only dream of it. I'm nowhere near that, and I'm 26. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so jealous of the man.
Yeah. Um, on the topic of people being released and stuff like that, Jakara Jackson has rebranded herself as Mara Shade. I may have butchered that. But she has rebranded herself. Cora, Jade, and Gigi Dolin also put out like hype packages from themselves. And here's the thing I have with this, and I am a fan of all three of these women. Um, the hype package thing is, I don't want to say overdone, but it is a little bit. And it's like someone gets released from WWE, oh, they have the whole like package of them like looking in the mirror, and like I really don't want to be like that guy, but there's been a lot of talent that's got released from WWE and has done that exact same thing. Um and like I'd like to see something different. Like I know Duke Hudson did like this interview thing, and that was pretty cool and interesting. Um so yeah, I'd like to see something different, but I do hope that they use like this to the full advantage and rebrand themselves, um and really just become undeniable.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's funny you mentioned Duke Hudson because he was the one I was going to use as an example of. I quite liked what he done when he was released. But I do agree with you to an extent with that. Like you like when Ambrose was released and he repackaged as Moxley, that was one of the first big ones I think I remember from WWE being able to go over to. A lot of the time we didn't even know he was going to AEW. It was for New Japan, and I remember seeing that Mox Hike package, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen."
Yeah.
But I just said, and I do on the fence with it of the fact that like it obviously is an easy way for them to go about it and get their new ring persona and everything out there. But there is a lot of it, as you said. But I totally agree. I hope the best for them all. I think like I'm really interested to see what the former Jakara Jackson does now because she was one I was a lot along for a lot of the releases was really surprised when they split her from Lash Legend. Now, firstly, I think Lash Legend is fantastic and has a great career ahead of her in NXT. But I loved the two of them together, and I thought they were a great tag team. And specifically in WWE now, they're very much lacking in the women's tag team division across all brands. So her one was quite surprising, and I hope that was the best for her. The likes of Cora, Jade, Gigi Dolin, now the also Elena Black and Priscilla Kelly. We've seen them before. Priscilla, I don't really know if she'll end up. See her in probably somewhere crazy like GCW. Elena, I feel like would go to AEW. I feel like she fits in there. And hopefully will be able to, as you said, make absolute gold for herself.
Yeah, 100%. I get the chance to meet Elena in August because I am covering Destiny Wrestling, an indie show
Oh,
here in Canada. So
very
yeah,
cool.
I get the chance to meet her. Hopefully do an interview with her for the channel. I know she wasn't doing media. I don't know if that's changed. Um, but yeah, hopefully that can happen, and if not, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, I hope that these three make the best of themselves because they're all very talented in their own right.
Yep, totally agreed.
Yeah. Um. So we have what else do we have here? Um. Oh, so this is something you brought up on the Worlds Collide Money in the Bank predictions. Joaquin Wilde has been pulled from Worlds Collide and replaced by Lince Dorado. And I found this out by you on the podcast. Um, yeah, this is interesting, and I don't think we really like talked. I mean, there's not really much to talk about. But does this like change your like perspective on anything on Worlds Colliding regarding this match with them?
I don't have said that. I've completely forgot. I think I went for, yeah, I've gone for the LWO. I don't massively think so. I think he can slot in there quite nicely. And as we said yesterday, our thoughts and everything with Whacking Wild, it sucks. I believe it's hopefully just a concussion. I know he tweeted saying it's his first time being knocked out cold.
Yeah,
So hopefully it's nothing more than that. So wish him a speedy recovery. But it's cool for Lince. Lince was someone I always enjoyed, even when it was the Lucha House Party. I always quite enjoyed seeing them on screen. Were they ever going to do anything crazy? No, they weren't. But I always liked seeing him. And as I was saying yesterday, he is one of the trainers at the Performance Center. So I think it's just a nice wee thing for him to be able to do is stand in kind of a shitty situation, and he's probably someone I'm sure the crowd will be familiar with, and he'll put on a great show. He's a great wrestler, so I'm happy for him in that sense.
yeah, 100%. Um, yeah, my predictions stay the same as well. Um, I may have to do the thing where I create a new meeting. Because we are on a time limit
Oh yeah,
again.
cool.
So yeah, I'm going to do that quickly.
Yeah, perfect. Yep.
All right, we are back. So yeah, we were talking about Joaquin Wild. There's not much else to say about that. For those of you that don't know, um, Joaquin was injured in a match on Speed before Raw because that's when Speed is taped. Don't know if I was supposed to say that, but it was Joaquin Wild versus Lexus King, and apparently, like Rue said, he got a concussion, got knocked out cold. And yeah, he's got pulled from Worlds Collide and is replaced by Lince Dorado now. I haven't seen Lince wrestle in a while.
Yeah, it's been. I can't even. When did the Lucha House Party get released? Was that in the 2020 releases?
Um,
Possibly.
it might have been.
It's been quite a long time. It's because he's one of them. When I heard his name back at the start of the year, I said him becoming a trainer. I was like, oh my God, Lince Dorado. Like it's been quite a while. But actually, like you said, actually to see him wrestle, I've not seen anything in a long, long time.
Yeah. Actually, I may have lied because when I was wrestling, um, I was actually on a show Lince was on.
Oh,
here in Canada. So that may have been the last time I saw him wrestle.
there you go. That's very cool, actually.
Yeah. Completely different from what I saw on like the Lucha House Party stuff. So um yeah, maybe we'll see like the real like Lince Dorado how he actually wrestles here on Worlds Collide instead of the whole Lucha House
I
Party
think
thing.
so, especially when he's. Yeah, I think so, especially when he's teamed up with Dragon Lee as well. Toro's great in his own right, but I think next to Dragon Lee, you might want to, just try and match him.
Yeah,
Just see how he gets on.
yeah, 100%. Well, some more TV stuff. Myles Borne beat Charlie Dempsey on NXT, and that allowed in a rounds match, and that allows Myles Borne to leave no quarter catch crew. Um, and I'll throw this in here as the topic as well. Speaking of people like leaving factions or whatever, it's one thing to leave on your own right, on your own 2 feet, and it's one thing to have a chair put in your back and say you're out. And that's what happened to Brooks Jensen in the Culling. And Myles Borne is
Yeah,
Myles
that was
Borne.
quite a weird one. Wasn't
Yeah, it came out
Yep.
of nowhere. But yeah, in terms of Myles Borne, I think he's gonna be fine. I think I can see him going in like the
Yeah.
North American title scene or something like that. When this happened to Brooks Jensen, my immediate thought was, oh shit, I hope he doesn't get released tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to look at previous that the WWE have had, I wouldn't say it's looking great, considering I think the whole point of bringing Brooks Jensen into the Culling to be alongside Sean Spears as a mentor. I mean, that was only not too long ago that whole storyline started.
Yeah.
I don't really foresee him going on in the singles division and being successful. Which sucks, but it's just the way he kind of looks like he's going to be projected. Whereas, as you said, with Myles Borne, I think he'll be absolutely fine. He was someone quite recently that I've came to love on NXT. I always obviously knew of him through the No Call Catch crew. Seen the matches alongside him tagging with Tavian Heights, which were some of the most crazy matches. Um, but getting to see him stand his own 2 feet and that test against Femi, I think was a great one to prove that he can stand in that upper division. And I agree with you. I think next we go NXT North American Championship, and hopefully in the not too distant future we can maybe see him back up in the main event and quite possibly be an NXT champion.
Yeah, I can definitely see that in Bourne's future. In terms of Brooks Jensen, I'd like to see him team with Josh Briggs again. I think that's where he'd be best because I do like Brooks Jensen. I think he's fun to watch. I think he's a good wrestler. And I think him being partnered up with Josh Briggs again would be cool.
Yeah, that would bring a lot out of him, especially because of the Josh Briggs and Inamura story currently. I don't quite know where it's going to go with that. They, the split because he's gone back to Japan, now he's back. So
Yeah.
if Inamura is going to go on and do his own thing for the up the card, yeah, it would probably rather than just having Brooks do and doing nothing. Um, I think putting him with Briggs. Also, I just off topic. Josh Briggs, I think, is one of the most underrated wrestlers in NXT. I love him. He's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. And like they keep seeming like they're going to push him and then just stop and don't push him.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I think Josh Briggs is great. I think he has a really big future if given the opportunity.
Yeah, totally agree, and I hope the best for him. And is able to kind of push himself in NXT, put the trust in him to push him up that card and just show what he can do.
Yeah. Sticking with NXT, we were talking about people getting released, but there's also been people that have joined the roster. Mariah May debuted on NXT. We had a segment where JC Jane came out, like the slap heard around the world. Fatal Influence is taking over. Then we had like half of the women's division come out, including oh, I'm forgetting her name now. The first girl that interrupted. Um,
or something Reed, um,
yeah,
Lane Reed, something like
yeah,
that.
I feel so bad, but the last time I saw her was like on NXT Level Up. So that kind of just like took me by surprise.
Yeah,
But yeah, then
yeah,
all like everybody came out like, no, I want a shot, I want a shot, I want a shot. And then the lights go out and Mariah May is there. It popped me, but in the grand scheme of things, I feel like they could have done more with this debut. For me, it kind of felt a little bit bland.
it felt quite rushed. I feel like because I mean, I think it was only announced that she had left or been removed from the AEW's roster page. What, a day before, maybe? I
I
mean, it was
think
quite
2 days,
a Ricky
yeah.
Saints situation. Yeah, it was quite quick. So I think they would just try to get her on TV as quickly as possible. And I agree. One thing I did find quite interesting actually about this whole segment was Jordan Grace was one of the women that came out to kind of claim her sort of wanting to go after the NXT Women's Championship. And there was all the reports saying that she's potentially going up to the main roster alongside Julia and Stephanie. But maybe this isn't the case now for Jordan.
Yeah. Um yeah, it's interesting. And you mentioned I almost called him Ricky Starks. Ricky Saints.
Sorry.
Um they did the exact same thing with Mariah May, and it's almost
Yep.
guaranteed that she's going to get a name change. And because they did the whole thing
Yep.
where it's, oh, you know who that is? Oh, it's her. It's the hottest free agent right now. NXT just got more glamorous. They did everything but say her name. Um,
Yeah, it's like I hope, and I said this in a TikTok where I was like, as long as they don't start calling her like Freya February or Jenna January or anything like that, I think keep the Mariah part. I've seen folks say they should keep Mariah May, but spell May with an E at the end of it. And I was like, yeah,
oh,
you should just do that.
they could do that. Yeah, I could see her keeping Mariah, but yeah, I hope they don't go with like Mariah June or something like that.
Yeah, I hope not. But yeah, I do. I mean, listen, even for JC Jane, I say I actually really like JC Jane, but all I can say is good luck. I don't think that championship's staying on you for too long.
Yeah, no, 100%. Um, Mariah is definitely going to win that at some point in time. And I think this
Yeah,
was a pretty good time for Mariah to show up because a few months ago, when the story first came out of Mariah potentially joining WWE, I was like, okay, it's not going to be long before, Stephanie, Julia, and Roxanne get called up. Um, and Mariah would be perfect after they get called up. And that's exactly the route that they took.
yeah,
She adds to this division now that like the big three or like even the potentially big four with Jordan Grace are going to be gone. Um,
yeah.
so yeah.
No, totally. I do absolutely. I've thought and said the same things, and it makes these call-ups make so much more sense. And obviously, unfortunately, as well with I guess the releases. Though I agree with what you're saying. Though I do still kind of hate hearing that whole like, oh, it's a money thing because they definitely have more enough money. But if it is to do that, it also makes sense because I could only imagine that she's on a fat contract because surely Tony Khan must have thrown everything he could at all.
Oh,
You'd
100%.
hope so anyway.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so Mariah May's in WWE and I'm very interested to see how they book her. She's definitely gonna be um a lot of people like to say nerfed. In WWE, she's not going to have like these brutal hardcore matches that she did with Tony Storm in AEW. I can see them
Yeah,
booking her as like a Tiffany Stratton type of deal.
I think so. I would like to see them go down, and I agree. Obviously, they're not going to go with the Tony Storm route. But I would like to see her as a Tiffany Stratton, but less Barbie doll esque and more just straight up bitch, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like just straight up, just. this horrible, horrible person, but take the kind of Barbie aspect out of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I that's Mariah May, and I hope they stick within her
Yeah.
character that she had in AEW. Obviously, she's gonna be toned down a little bit. Um, but yeah, I hope they stick with her. Um, we mentioned this on the predictions podcast, but Jackson Drake won the Evolve Championship. I actually didn't expect Jackson Drake to win this, and I know we both said we barely watch Evolve. I just can't get into it, like the characters and just everything involved in it. Um, but I didn't expect Jackson Drake to win this. I thought it could have been Sean Legacy or the other dude. I'm like forgetting names today.
Idris Sanobe and who's the other one? I can't remember the other one now.
Uh, Bigger dude.
I was
Uh,
like, I was like Keanu or something like
yeah,
that.
Keanu Reeves. There it is. I
Yeah, there
thought
you go.
either Sean Legacy or Reeves would have won it. Um, but yeah, they
Yeah,
went with
I
Jackson
would have
Drake.
said Legacy. Uh, if I was to pick from the beginning, I would have went with Legacy. One thing that I thought when I seen this, and I think actually quite similar as well to the women's one, but definitely more so than the men's, is it's quite similar potentially to how they did the first NXT UK champions, so both the men's and the women. I don't know how much of it you watched back then, but I think the two big names to win the men's one was Pete Dunne, and for the women it was Tony Storm at the time. They were the two big ones, but they didn't go with them and this is the inaugural champ. They also went with Tyler Bate and Rhea Ripley, which sounds mental nowadays to say that Rhea Ripley was, you know, the second place pick. Um, but I think she was at the time. I think a lot of people had Tony Storm to be the inaugural champion, but they didn't. They went with Rhea, and I thought that quite similar here with Evolve, but they've gone with the unexpected, and maybe that's the reason to try and bring more eyes to it and to allow the likes of Sean Legacy to have a storyline of them chasing that championship that gets more eyes on the product.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that is very true. And like you mentioned on the predictions podcast that these guys are like forming some sort of partnership, it seems, with Ethan Page. So maybe that plays a
Yep.
part in it.
I think so as well. I think so. I can imagine Ethan even parading around on NXT with Jackson Drake, and I wonder if maybe down the line does it lead to maybe a face turn for Jackson down the line? Will maybe Ethan is trying to be like, look, I'm the Evolve champion and all that kind of maybe similar to Christian Cage in the Patriarchy. He takes that role, and eventually down the line we could have the potential face turn.
That is very true. Um, I don't know about Swipe Right turning face though. They just seem like they're really good at
Yeah.
being pieces of shit. Um,
Yeah, that's the other aspect of it. It's quite hard to, or it's easier to dislike them. It's quite hard to like them.
yeah. But Jackson Drake, I can definitely see turning babyface.
Yeah,
Um, did you check out AEW Fyter Fest by any chance this past Wednesday?
I have seen highlights from it. I haven't gone and watched the whole show yet. I haven't got around to it.
Okay, yeah. I did not because there were some issues with like my channels and stuff, and the fact that it was 4 hours. Um, I
Oh
sit
no.
through SmackDown week 3 hours and just wrestling every single week of every day. When I saw that this was 4 hours, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me."
Oh yeah, that's I think mine and a lot of people's like AEW. The product's fantastic. The pay-per-views they put on are always knock it out of the park. But my God, the length of them. So
Yeah,
I mean, I think Revolution, Double or Nothing wasn't too bad actually, but it was still long. But Revolution, I remember, I think it was almost 6 o'clock in the morning here by the time it finished, and it started at, if you include the pre-show, it started at about 11:30 p.m. at night.
Wow. Yeah,
It
Revolution
was
was a really
long.
long pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's similar to the previous things, the previous nights of WrestleManias. I remember WrestleMania, was it 35? That was the one that was about 9 hours long with the pre-show.
Yeah. Yeah. Um so the final thing we have, I don't know how much TNA you watch. Are you up to date with most TNA stuff?
So yeah, up to date. I keep up to date with all the weekly episodes, and I watch all the pay-per-views when they come out.
Okay. So I was gonna go through my Against All Odds predictions for tonight. Um, and I really hope I
Yeah,
can get this out before the pre-show, so it's like it's not too bad. Um, so we have a few matches here that we'll go through, and we can go through our predictions quickly because Seth Rollins is on my screen right now.
yeah.
Um,
Same.
yeah. Um, so we'll start off with this match. Former coach of mine, Santino Marella versus Robert Stone. The winner becomes official TNA Director of Authority. I am gonna go with Santino to win this. I don't see why they would go with Robert Stone to win this match. He's an NXT guy, and it wouldn't make sense for him to be the Director of Authority on TNA.
Yeah, totally agree. Exact same. Santino. I think this is just a match to pop the crowd to be able to see Santino back more than more than anything. But I totally agree. And also just again the fact that you're coached by Santino is really cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's always cool to see him on TV and like just like being coached from him before, and it's like especially the promo he cut on TNA this week. It was like I did not know he had that in him. Um
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I also watched his episode with Chris Van Vliet this week, and he just seems like the nicest guy.
oh yeah, he's a really down to earth guy, and just yeah, overall just great guy.
Yeah,
Um Next match we have Joe Hendry versus Frankie Kazarian, not for anything, just a singles match. Um I think Joe Hendry is going to win back his TNA World Title from Trick Williams, so I am going to assume that Joe Hendry picks up the win here.
yeah, I'm in agreement. I actually, well, I did think for a really brief period on NXT that they were going to do the really quick switch to Santana. But with it not going to Santana, I would be in agreement with you. I don't know. I would like to see him win it back. The only thing with Joe is also his contract is up at the end of the year, and I think he's definitely getting signed to NXT.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if they would put it back on him, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they did at the same time. But I agree. I'm going with Joe with this one.
Yeah. Either way, I think Trick is dropping that title at Slammiversary. Um and yeah,
Yeah.
I think they could literally just have Joe win it back at Slammiversary and drop it to somebody else. I don't know who he'd drop it to. Maybe Kazarian. It's not really a match I want to see again. Um,
No, I think who he could go for. Yeah, actually, now you say that, yeah, Joe is probably unless they would need to build someone quite fast. Maybe like a Leon Slater, but yeah, I think maybe yeah, if it's not Joe, I don't know who else it could be. Now sitting thinking about it.
yeah, yeah, but I think Joe's gonna pick up the win here, regardless. Um, we have a match for the TNA International Championship, Steve Macklin versus Mance Warner. Um, I don't think any titles are changing hands on this show, so I am going with Steve Macklin. Um, I haven't been sold on Mance Warner yet. I don't know if you feel the same, but there's something about him that's just not selling me. And like he's a good wrestler. I maybe it's his character work, maybe it's Steph. I don't know. Um, but there's something just about Mance Warner that is not getting me invested in any of his matches.
Yeah, I'm actually again quite similar. It's funny you say that. I found the same. Whereas on the opposite side, I've actually really enjoyed Steve Macklin. Um, so I don't particularly want him to lose the championship anytime soon either.
Yeah,
So yeah, totally agree with the Mans Warner thing. And I think Steve Macklin will retain here.
yeah, 100%. Um, we have a singles match for the TNA Knockouts World Championship. Masha Slamovich versus Lei Ying Lee. Um, again, don't think any titles are changing hands, and I think this is just going to be a match just to have a match. And Slamovich retains.
Yep. Again, full agreement. I think Slamovich has held on to that for quite a long time. This is also the former Xylee, isn't it, from WWE? So I
Yeah,
think it'll be quite a nice wee showcase for her. I always thought she was. I think she was always, quite solid in the ring, but I don't think there was much else there, especially character wise. But it was good for her. I'm happy for her, and it'd be good to get a wee showcase. But yeah, I agree. I think Masha will be holding on to this for quite a while.
yeah. Next we have a tag team match for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. The Nemeth brothers, Nick Nemeth and Ryan Nemeth, versus the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz. This should be a good match, but I'm gonna stick to my prediction of no titles changing, and I'm going to assume the Nemeth brothers hold on to it here.
Yeah. Again, it's quite bold because I thought the exact same. I didn't think anything was going to change on this
Yeah,
card either. Um, Same. I agree. This will be a great match. I love the Rascals. I think they're very, very fun to watch. And same with the Nemesis. I've always loved. I've always been a Dolph Ziggler fan back in the day. So seeing him over here doing what he's doing as Nick Nemeth alongside his brother, two great wrestlers. I think it'll be a fun match. Very, very fun match. But yes, I do not see the championships changing.
yeah. Um, yeah, I love all four of these guys. I mean, Ryan's okay. I love the gimmick where he just
Yeah.
like he accepts that like everyone just cares about Nick, so he's just like, oh, my big brother.
Yeah.
Um, so
No,
yeah, it
exactly.
should be a solid match between these four and these two teams. But yeah, we both in agreement. Then we have, which I assume is the main event, the TNA World Championship match between Trick Williams and Elijah, formerly Elias in WWE. Um, Trick is gonna win this. I don't have anything else to say, but I think Trick is just gonna retain.
Yeah. Yeah, same. As you said, I agree. I don't think Trick's losing this until Slammiversary. If they didn't do the switch to Santana on NXT, the quick switch, I totally thought the same. He would be holding on to this until Slammiversary, but he'll lose it to someone down the line.
Yeah. Um, and it would be kind of stupid to like have Trick beat Santana on NXT to retain, and then him lose it on like a B level event like against all odds.
Yeah, I feel like we'll probably also see a show up of these new guys, AJ Francis and I can't remember the guy's name. I'm sure we'll see them pop up as well, probably to interfere in the match.
Yeah. So that is all we have. There's a current segment going on that I am actually kind of invested in because it's new. Um,
Me, me too. I've been watching it on the side, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
yeah, I just have the subtitles on. So but yeah, that is everything that we have here for the headlines of the week. Thanks for joining me so like last minute. Um,
No,
that's
not at all.
how I am sometimes, unfortunately. But yeah, some really great stuff to talk about here. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and comment, hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews. Go follow. I almost said subscribe. Follow Ruin Wrestling on TikTok. Um, he's got some great content over there. It'll be in the description below. Yeah, go subscribe to the Ko-Fi page, $5 minimum to get the exclusive wrestling content tier. Go use my WWE shop link if you plan on buying anything from WWE shop. It helps me out a lot. And yeah, that's all I have to plug. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, again, as you mentioned, Rune Wrestling on TikTok. I'll be posting whenever I can. Probably do some reactions to Money in the Bank and Triple A, see if I can get some live reactions out for them um, over the coming days. I'm also looking at doing a video coming up, basically discussing about the history of the Cruiserweight Championship and whether or not we could see it back in WWE. So look forward to that, hopefully at some point over the coming weeks.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and follow Ruin Wrestling on TikTok and go ahead and check that video out when he releases it. That should be an interesting video. That is a very interesting concept and idea. Um, but yeah, so I will see you guys on the next one. It'll probably be the results and review podcast for Money in the Bank and Worlds Collide. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.